Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Fins Faithful podcast. Thanks for joining us this late afternoon on this busy day one of free agency, where a lot of teams, but the Dolphins, so far are making moves. But be patient. We'll get into all that, plus the Dolphins with NFL and Broncos insider and host and reporter for KO8 Colorado, Benjamin Allbright. Ben, everybody knows Ben from Breaking Stories on Twitter. Ben, sorry, you'll know Ben's sick. It was going to be hard to get him on here. Ben, thanks for joining me, man. Thank you.
Oh, no worries. I hope my voice holds out a little bit. I've been battling the flu, so I apologize. I apologize for the
It
disheveled
shows
appearance.
that's okay. It shows your toughness and your grit, on your scouting report. All right, Ben. We'll get to the Dolphins here, but they didn't make a ton of moves, but their rivals in the division. Let's start with the Patriots. Milton Williams, Carlton Davis. What do you make here of the moves by the Patriots? I mean, they had the money to spend. They sure did.
Well, that's the thing, and there are several teams. I mean, obviously, if it's in the division, you guys are upset if your opponent gets better, right? But there are other teams beyond, I would say, that division that are upset. The Arizona Cardinals thought they had both Josh Sweat and Milton Williams
Oh,
locked
they
up.
did.
They wound up getting that bidding war. It's a four-way bidding war with Minnesota and the Panthers and the Patriots. And the Patriots just had the cash and the cap. Like they just absolutely were willing to take it to 26 million a year, which was well above what everybody thought Milton was going to get. And there's some concern that Milton got that production because of who he was next to on that line, and not necessarily that it was all him. So, there's some with that. I would say everybody knew the Patriots were going to spend, and they are spending, but it felt like they didn't really get as much as they could have. Now, keeping in mind, today is not actually the first day of free
Yeah,
agency. Today is just legal tampering.
yeah.
Free agency is still a few days away. So there could be there could be some more stuff coming on that. I think the thing to remember with free agency is tell me the last team that won free agency that won the Super Bowl, and
Oh,
and I think we're not gonna find one. So the thing to remember with free agency is you're spending A plus money on B plus talent. You generally don't want to be a big spender in free agency. You want to like fill a few holes, maybe add a guy or two, and then that's kind of it. Add a little bit of depth, and that's kind of it. So the teams that are all with the fan bases that are freaking out, oh, what are we doing? That kind of stuff. That always makes me laugh a little bit.
yeah. Down here, we're we're one of those teams, but it's still early, like you said. Even though a lot of the big deals will get done by Wednesday, though, you'll pretty much know where they're going by Wednesday. But it's still early. We have a Ray Allen. I don't know. Is that the Bosa? Yeah, I mean, we've been hearing a lot about Bosa. Have you heard anything about the Dolphins' interest in Joey Bosa? I know San Fran was rumored to be big on him to reunite with his brother.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen. San Fran's really trying to they're struggling to keep guys, and they're trying to figure out a way to get this Brock Purdy deal done, which when they were up at the combine, they weren't even close. So they're trying to figure out how to get that deal done. I don't know that he goes to San Fran. I don't know that Miami's the leader in the clubhouse there, but San Francisco's got several issues with trying to make everything work. They just lost the safety they wanted to keep, Huffnugget. They lost him to the Broncos, and they were wanting to keep him. So, and they're going to lose probably Greenlaw here. We'll see. Maybe to the Texans. We'll see how that goes. But Bosa to the Dolphins, I think, is more real than perhaps. Yeah, than perhaps has been discussed. I think I haven't seen a ton of discussion about it. Now, obviously, I'm sure on the Miami boards and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff, it's probably
yeah,
highly discussed.
yeah.
I'm just saying from my eagle eye view, I haven't seen a ton of
Yeah.
national discussion on it, and it's more real, I think, than the lack of discussion that I've seen.
Yeah, you mentioned Greenlaw. We might as well get into that. A lot of reports the Dolphins in on Greenlaw. Um, how serious is that? Are they one of a few teams that are chasing Greenlaw right
Yeah,
now?
they're one of several teams. The Broncos have calls in there. The Texans, who I think are the leader in the clubhouse right now.
The Texans.
We'll see. The Niners want him back, but I don't think they can do it. He would have to take a bit of a haircut to do all that. And I have no idea. Like I know Miami's discussed it with him, but I have no idea where they're at in terms of price point. So I don't know how serious they are about it. I just know that they're in the discussion.
Right. Speaking of the Texans, Laramie Tunsil traded again. Did that surprise you? I thought it was a good deal actually for the Commanders. They didn't give up any early picks this year. I think the second next year. Boy, the Commanders again, another team that's gone big. Samuel, and now it's Tunsil. They're going for it, Ben.
Well, yeah, I mean, you made the NFC Championship game in year one. You've got a quarterback on a rookie deal. I feel like they feel like that they're potentially in a window, as far as it goes. The NFC is a little easier than the AFC, so I think they've got the ability to do that kind of stuff. They knew they needed to shore up the offensive line. The Debo thing, I mean, that to me, that's whatever. There was a lot of the name Debo Samuel is a
Yeah,
lot better than the actual resume of Debo Samuel.
true.
You're talking about like a 45-yard a game guy, um, but people treat him like he's a 100-yard a game guy, and so I think that move. I think he fits what Washington wants to do. I mean, Cliff needs that guy that he can throw the screens to on the one side that can take a little bit away from Scary Terry. But the name Debo Samuel,
Yeah,
the legend of Debo, is bigger than the production of Debo. But Larry Tunsil, I think, is a good signing. Or excuse me, a good trade.
yeah.
I do.
Yeah. Again, we're here with NFL insider Benjamin Allbright. Guys, take a second, hit that little bell, subscribe. I know it's a pain in the butt to keep asking, but it takes a second. It helps the channel. Hit the like and the little bell, subscribe. All right, let's bring it to the Dolphins here. Offensive line. Some guys got paid today. Aaron Banks off the board. There's still some guys I like. Tevin Jenkins, Makari from the Ravens, Will Fries. I like Becton. What have you been hearing about the O-line market? And have you heard the Dolphins in on any of those guys? And what kind of price range? We're looking probably 15 mil for those guys.
Yeah, I think what you're doing here is you're trying to slow play it to see if who's the left out person. I don't think the talent disparity is super high between a lot of those. So I think what you're trying to do is figure out, okay, who's going to overspend on whom, and then who's going to be left here where we can get somebody at the cost effective price point. And so that's the thing. Like it is a good market, a good free agent market, especially for guards, but a good free agent market for offensive linemen. And so I do believe Miami will be in one or two of those conversations that you just mentioned. It's funny how many questions I get about Will Fries. Like it's
Yeah,
weird. It's like, it was something I was
yeah,
noticing earlier today. I get a disproportionate number of questions about that player than any other, and that's not just from Miami. I'm just saying in
yeah.
general. I get a weird number of Will Fries questions. So I do believe you'll be in the conversation on a couple of those. Again, I also think Miami it really wants to punch up the linebacking core, both with the edge rush and the inside backers. So I think those are probably where your spends are in free agency.
So you think the offensive line and linebackers probably their two primary targets? You think
I,
going
I
into
think
the year?
yeah, I think that's where your big spends are. I mean, you'll see you might see them flirt with a few other things here or
Yeah,
there.
depth signing.
Right.
What about the corner position? Are they? I maybe in the draft. I have a hard time believing they're going to go with Cam Smith and Storm Duck there. Uh, Cornerbacks. I was looking actually at some lower level guys. How's the cornerback? I mean, I like a Debo went to the Giants, but boy, he got 18 million per.
Yeah.
I think Dolphin fans are upset. I mean, who knows? As we're speaking, they could be signing somebody, but it just seems like maybe the market the price they just got outpriced here. It's just too much for them, right?
Well, and
Especially the
that's
corners.
Yeah, that's what happens with corners. I mean, like there's a shortage of corners in the NFL, which is funny to me because the wide receiver market actually outpaces the corner market at the top
Yeah,
end by about 10 million.
yeah.
But the reality is there is many receivers out there and not enough corners. So that's one of those market inefficiencies to me that I find fascinating, but that's beside the point. There's you're going to overpay for corners. I mean, look what Traymon Smith is primarily a special team player, and look what he got. You've got you just talked about Adebo, Nate Hobbs. I don't know if that one's done yet.
Yeah.
He was talking to Steelers, a few other teams. That's those guys. Like they're all going to get paid. Corners get paid. We saw the extension for J.C. Horn this morning. So corners get paid in this league, and that's the thing. Especially if you're a top tier corner, you're going to get money. Again, I I I understand the hesitance there, but at the same time, like that's an area where you really want to draft and develop. If you have to go to free agency for corner, you're probably going to be turning over that corner position every couple of years. That's not a cycle you want to get stuck in.
Yeah, another position, like a mediocre defensive tackle is going for 10 million now.
Yeah.
Like I just saw another guy like just Bobby Brown went to
Yeah.
Carolina. They signed another one. I think that's a position they go in the draft. Is there any guys you like left on the defense? It seems like it's a weak group this year. I think, like you said, maybe re-sign Campbell. Have you heard anything about Calais Campbell coming back? Jones, and then because there's not much left out there, I think, in the defensive tackle position.
Yeah, I think Campbell wants another year. So that's going to be. We'll see how that one goes. There's really not much left. I mean, Poona Ford already went to the Rams
Yep.
for 10 million per. The Broncos brought DJ Jones back. You just mentioned Bobby Brown. He went to the Panthers. I've been waiting to say that's his prerogative. But as far as the rest of it, goes, it's a weak market for free agency in general this year. It's a weak
Yeah, it
draft, a
is.
weak market for free agency, and so if your team's not doing anything, or you think they're not doing anything, I would kind of take a breath and relax and be thankful that my team isn't overspending for guys that. That it may not be a future bedrock. You don't have to do something just to
Yeah.
do something.
Like you said, you're spending A+ for not
Yeah.
even B players, C+. You don't
Well,
really.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if we're being honest.
Yeah, we're already past the B players. Now you're
Yeah,
spending A
yeah,
minus money for C plus talent, and that's like you got to be you want to be careful of that because that'll put you in a bad spot. And the last thing you want is to rack up a bunch of free agents, have a mercenary roster, with a coach that's been there for a few years and the seat starts to get warm, that kind of
yeah,
stuff. So
yeah. We got over 118 people watching. If you're on anywhere but YouTube, come on over on YouTube, hit that bell and subscribe to the channel. Help support the channel. We really appreciate Ben Allbright coming. A sick Ben Allbright coming on with you guys. Quickly, even Jonathan Allen. Uh, I've heard the Dolphins have liked him for a few years now. Is he going to get paid more than I think here? Is he one of these 15, $16 million deal, maybe on a 2-year deal?
I think he's going to get paid more than people think. Minnesota was heavily involved there. I don't know. I don't know if Miami pulls that one off. Minnesota was pretty heavy involved. The other name that was out there was Hargrave,
Oh,
and I think
Hargrave,
I
yeah,
think I think he's going to the Browns. Though we'll see.
yeah.
They had wanted to make that happen. So, yeah. Who's the original person we were talking about? Oh, Allen.
Allen, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think that's going Minnesota. We'll see. But yeah, I again, a lot the market drives these prices up, and then you wind up paying a ton of money. And is that a guy that's a difference maker? That's a long term, 3-4 year window for you there? Is this the difference? And I don't know that it is. I think that there are some down trace depth guys, and then I think believe it or not, I think there's a couple defensive linemen in this draft. It's not a deep draft, but
yeah.
there are a
I
couple
like
guys in this draft that I like that are good fits for what Miami does.
Kenneth Grant is one of my favorites.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
actually like him, Ben, more than Graham for the Dolphins because he brings a physical presence in what they need.
It's interesting you said that because somebody said the exact same thing to me at the combine, and we were
Really?
talking. Yeah, we were talking about that, and because I was telling how when I'm looking at defensive prospects, one of the things that sort of bugs me is if you've got two really good defensive prospects on a D line, sometimes it can be tough to separate whether one of those guys is a badass or whether they both are. And you go back to like North Carolina a few years ago, right? You had two guys coming out. Both of them got taken in the first round. One was Ryan Sims, the other was Julius Peppers. And we saw Peppers was making Sims, right?
Yeah,
Because you saw Ryan Sims in the pros. Not that Ryan Sims was terrible, but he just wasn't all that great. And so, like when you get a stacked defensive line like that's got more than one really really good player, sometimes one of them is actually might be kind of average, and the other guy might be kind of a badass. You gotta learn to like separate those on tape and see is one guy getting one on ones that he won't get at the next level because you got two guys that are above average, that kind of thing. So
yeah, I agree. And I kind of look at it as I don't know if it's me getting feedback, but Sealer. I looked at it when Wilkins left. I was wondering, what is Sealer going to look like? And then Zach was actually the one. Maybe he was helping out Wilkins. Maybe it was reversed. Like, not saying Christian's not a great player, but Zach still got 10 sacks. So I look at it as, Grant in Michigan and Sealer's Graham over there in. I think they complement each other
yep.
More for me. And I think he's a realistic target. You were at the combine. Was there kind of news of what the Dolphins could be looking at draft-wise? I know it's early, and I always know you're really good. I remember, before we get into that, I remember the 21 draft and I had the same theory. It was Devontae Smith. Last minute, you change it to Waddle. I go, oh, shoot, man. I told my brother, I go, Ben changes to Waddle? It's Waddle.
Well, yeah, in fairness, there was something else going on behind the scenes there. Remind me, I'll owe you a story on that one.
Yeah, please.
But yeah, that one was anyway. As far as the combine, As far as the combine goes this year, yeah, I think front seven. I mean, you're looking at front seven players, whether it's the free agency, the draft, whatever.
Yeah.
The Dolphins believe that the front seven provides pressure and will help the back end hold up. That's philosophically where they're at. So I believe that they will make heavy investments there.
You think defense? You think it might be defense at 13? And everybody's saying O line. You think it's
I
more?
mean, they'll make an O line investment, but I
Yeah.
think they're really focused on that front seven on defense. I do believe that they believe that that's going to be the key to getting them over the hump, and they believe that that they're the second best team in the division. Like there's an internal
Yeah.
belief in Miami that they're the second best team in the division. But you've got a Patriots team that may have found their quarterback, might be on the rise. They've got a good defense. They might have found the quarterback, and then the Jets. I mean, they signed Justin Fields. That's a joke, but
Yeah.
the rest of
20
that.
million. Well,
Yeah, well, 20 million is bottom. That's
yeah.
bottom of the barrel starting money. That's
Right.
nothing. But as far as the rest of that goes, like the Dolphins believe they're the second best team in the division, and if they get some breaks, who knows? They believe they can be a double-digit win football team. So, I think that I think for them, they're like, all right, what translates? And when we're down the stretch on this thing, what's the best way to keep this thing working? And that is pass rush. We see it over and over again with teams that go deep into the playoffs, and it is making sure that they've got that front seven that's able to make their back end work. Now, Philly's the exception because they're the back end holding up until the front end gets there, although they had
Yeah.
bodies everywhere.
Yeah.
But that's the Vic Fangio philosophy, which you guys saw for a year. You're on a different, you're on a different philosophy now, so you need to generate that pass rush out of
Yeah.
the front seven.
Yeah. So we on my our last show on Thursday, we broke down the edge rushers, and that was the day Bradley Chubb. I said, look, don't count this out. Like Chubb and Phillips are guys that have been hurt. Like Shamar Stewart, I don't think Jalen Walker makes it there. Mike Green, those guys at 13. And just look at the interest in Bosa. I think that goes away if they get Bosa. They're obviously not content at that edge position. So it makes sense what you're saying. A defensive line, D tackle or edge at 13 makes a lot of sense. Maybe they don't invest in that corner position because they say, okay, our D line's going to get the pressure. We don't need to have two $18 million corners on the outside. Is that kind of their philosophy there?
Yeah, and that goes. I mean, again, you're trying to build out from that year where you were stacking things for Vic. Because Vic's
Yeah.
defense is the polar opposite of what you're running now, right? Same thing in Denver. Vic's defense is tight front. We're never blitzing unless we're sending like a zero on third, and it's drop everybody back, quarters match. That kind of stuff. And so, his is send the least amount of people to quarterback I need to get pressure, and my back end will hold up until they get there. And then, what you have now, which is what the Broncos have, is generate as much pressure up front, put your guys out on island if you have to, and generate as much pressure up front, and don't ever let that occur. And so that's the thing. You're transitioning a little bit in terms of what it is that you do on defense and getting the right bodies in there to be able to execute that. So I do believe that there's going to be a big commitment to the front
Yeah.
seven.
What about their offensive philosophy? Are they changing? Because last year all of a sudden now the too high shell stuff, which I think they gave too much respect to, and it was almost like everything underneath. Are they going to have a change of philosophy to get more physical, or what are they going to do to kind of counter that fastball that everybody caught up to?
Well, the idea is when you come down out of too high, that they've got the speed between Tyreek and Waddle on the outside. That's the reason they're trying to force you into too high so
Yeah.
they can run on you. And then when you come down, then they want to pop you over the top with speed. That's the Mike McDaniel philosophy. We've
Right.
known Mike for years. I mean, Mike's
Right.
from here in Denver.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, next chance you get to talk to Mike, ask him
Yeah.
if he's still doing any ballroom dancing.
Okay.
He used to do that at Michelle Latimer Dance Academy here in when he was in high school. But it's as far as that goes, like the core philosophy of the Miami Dolphins offense is we're going to run the ball, and when you come down out of too high, we're going to pop you over the top with our speed receivers. Like that's the core philosophy. And there's other way. I mean, I'm being reductive, but you get the point.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's they want to return to that. They want to return to that now. A Chain has got the speed, but they need to find somebody who is a reliable, another reliable back. It can't just be on A Chain because he's not that guy. He's more like Darren McFadden, right? You're gonna get 1 yard,
Okay.
2 yards, 1 yard, 2 yards, 1 yard, 2 yard, 40
70.
yards.
Yeah.
Yeah, Right. And so and then so like that's the thing. You're gonna have if you give him 15 carries, you're gonna have three explosives, and then you're gonna have 12 carries for a yard. And so like you need somebody that can get you more than that. You need somebody who's steady that can get you, they can get you three, right? They can get you
Yeah,
three, 3.5, 4 yards. And if you can find that in that offense, that's sort of the thing. But the health of the running back position has been a problem over the years, and so they need to find somebody. I wouldn't be surprised if they this draft is that's another priority.
loaded.
And looking for a bigger guy. I'm not saying like Quinshon Judkins necessarily, but looking for a guy that moves the pile a little bit so you've got a better 1-2 punch
Yeah,
rather
yeah,
than having these frail, explosive clones that all get 2 yards a carry until they pop one.
yeah. That's kind of my thing. The problem is they're not running the ball, so they're not running the ball, and teams are allowed to play that too high shell, and you can't run the ball. That's why the guard position, the size at the running back position, I've been saying. Like, what are you thinking? Like a Scatabo, somebody, or Damian Martinez, something maybe in the later rounds. I like Judkins. I don't think they're going to go high on running back.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't think they're going to waste the top 75 pick. But like they got to invest in the running back and the guard position. I think I agree with you. I don't know if they're going to do that in round one on the offensive line, but hopefully they get somebody here. Are those linemen we talked to free agent? Who do you like for the Dolphins that's left? Jenkins, or those guys? I didn't ask you that. Who do you think's the guy? Fries, those guys, kind of. Who do you like? Do you like Jenkins for them?
Well, yeah, Jenkins fits. He knows the system. You're looking for guys that are zone block. You're
Yeah,
looking for zone guys. So you're looking for those more athletic offensive linemen because that's what the Mike McDaniel offense is rooted in. It comes from Mike Shanahan, he was an intern for, and then obviously
yeah,
Kyle. So there is some there is some gap stuff to it, but the majority of it is zone. You want to, ideally you're running stretch and outside zone to the left, and then you're going to be booting back to the right, on play action, and that's sort of the crux of the offense.
yeah.
So look for the athletic guys, look for the athletic zone guys, and that's who they'll go
Yeah,
for.
I actually like. I think Becton can do it. I know people are like, I actually because they run some outside zone in Philly with Barkley. Let's talk
Yeah,
about it. Yeah, I won't keep you too much longer. Let's talk about the guys. Holland. I thought it was Carolina. What's going on with Holland? Is it Tennessee? And he signed yet. I don't know. In the chat, if the Dolphins sign anybody, please post it. What's up with Javon Holland? What's the latest on him?
his market is sort of cratered because he thought he was going to have Carolina, Denver, those
Yeah,
kind of teams after him. Denver went with Hufnagel, and then you saw Carolina go with
he's Bynum.
like
No, not
Morig.
Bynum. Oh, Morgan. Yeah,
Yeah,
Morgan.
and
Trevor Morgan.
yeah, and so I think that he thought there was going to be a bigger market for him. I don't know that he's necessarily coming back to Miami, but that market has sort of cratered, and so they're having to sort of reset, their expectation on that kind of stuff, and go forward from there. And so, sorry, my voice is like,
No, it's okay. It's okay.
um, just yeah, flu's killed me. But I do believe there's a chance he comes back to Miami. You just kind of need to let this wave play out and see where things go.
Yeah, I'd be pretty precise. All right, last thing. Any chance? I know it's likely Tyreek Hill. That whole situation. Um, I'm curious what the Dolphins really feel about him in this situation because I always said, learn kind of from the Jimmy Butler stuff. This stuff doesn't go away. Once a player tells you how he feels and he's out, one foot's out the door, this is going to rear its ugly head. But they need him now. They're not going to get, I don't think, maybe at best a third round pick if they eat some of the money. It looks like he's coming back from all I heard. Is there a chance that changes, or you think Tyreek's back?
He's back. He's
Yeah,
committed this year. It's a juice squeeze argument with him, and it always
yeah.
is. Kansas City, he was was the juice worth the squeeze until it wasn't anymore. And he's that guy that's always going to want you to top him back off on a contract
Yeah.
every year, right? And so you just kind of you keep doing that until you can't do it anymore, and then you're like, all right, you move on from him. I think this is probably his last year in Miami, but he's back. He's certainly back this year.
Okay. So it was never even a thought to give it. You think they didn't give it from what I don't know what you heard, or maybe because I would do it, Ben. For me, this is your last shot to get something, and they kind of got to reconstruct this offense here. To me, you don't need both Waddle and Hill. I would go for something a little bigger on the outside, but I guess not, right?
Well, I mean, you know how it is. There's an archetype in that offense, and they want speed. Speed on the outside. And so that's the thing. Like I said, Hill's back this year, but I think it's probably his last year there. They've tried some other things, some other signings here or there, which you've seen, the Odell Beckham thing, which, didn't work out and all that.
He's got a lot of things to worry about. Not
yeah. But they tried some different things there as far as this stuff goes. The reality is, we'll see in the draft. You'll see them probably draft another burner on the outside late, take a flyer on somebody. But the Tyreek thing, from what I understand, he's back this year, committed this year, and then it's kind of we'll see after that.
All right. Oh, I forgot to ask. I would be remiss not to ask. Quarterback too. Anything on their backup quarterback plans, draft or free agency that you've heard?
Well, okay, so I think that they were under the impression that they were going to be in the Zach Wilson market for a backup.
Really?
I don't like, yeah, and Wilson's a favorite of that whole coaching tree. I don't know. I don't know that. I don't know that that's going to happen just by virtue of where some of the other quarterbacks are winding up. The carousel may not spin in their favor on that. But if the price is low enough, I'd heard that Zach Wilson was somebody that they were interested in as a backup.
So it's called our QB2, Zach. That's interesting. I mean, there's some meat to be pulled off that bone. There's in this system, maybe it works out. All right. I won't take any more of your time. Ben, feel better. Before we let you go, where can everybody follow you and get all the late breaking news that you got going on Twitter and X, and where can they listen to you?
Well, Broncos Country Tonight's broadcast on 8:50 a.m. in like 30 states and like 10 countries. So you can always stream it on the iHeart app. You can unfollow me on Twitter at Allbright NFL. It's a dumpster fire. I wouldn't follow me. There's that. But no, I appreciate you guys listening. Stay with the Fins Faithful podcast, and appreciate you having me on.
Hey, thank you guys. Yeah, make sure you hit that subscribe button, subscribe to the podcast, and we'll have Ben on again. Ben, thanks so much, man. Feel better.
I'll try, man. Appreciate you.
All right, have a good one. All right, guys, we will see you maybe later if something breaks, but if not, we'll see you next Thursday on the On Season Plus. We have something going on maybe Wednesday with a draft player prospect interview. We'll check that out. We might be back on later, but thanks everybody for watching the show with Ben Allbright, and keep posted. Hit that follow and subscribe button on the Fins Faithful podcast. We appreciate it, guys. As always, guys, stay Fins Faithful. We are out.